Floods have caused some of the most catastrophic disasters in U.S. history, wiping out entire cities, claiming thousands of lives, and leaving permanent scars on the landscape. Throughout history, massive floods have reshaped rivers, destroyed critical infrastructure, and left survivors with unimaginable losses. The Johnstown flood of 1889 remains one of the deadliest floods in American history, killing more than 2,200 people in Pennsylvania. A failed dam at Lake Conemaugh sent a 40-foot-high wall of water rushing toward Johnstown, leveling the town in minutes. The floodwaters swept away homes, businesses, and even locomotives, creating an unstoppable force of destruction. Bodies were found as far as 350 miles downstream, highlighting the sheer power of the flood's deadly current. The disaster was made worse when debris piled up at a stone bridge and caught fire, incinerating hundreds of trapped victims. Johnstown was completely unrecognizable after the disaster, marking it as one of the worst floods in American history. The Great Mississippi Flood of 1927 remains the most destructive river flood in U.S. history, covering 27,000 square miles across multiple states. Relentless rainfall caused the Mississippi River to overflow, submerging entire cities in Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. An estimated 637,000 people were displaced, many of whom were left stranded on rooftops for days awaiting rescue. Thousands of homes, farms, and entire communities were washed away, leaving behind nothing but muddy wastelands. The flood caused over $400 million in damages at the time, equivalent to billions in today's dollars. The disaster exposed racial and economic inequalities, as black sharecroppers were often denied aid or forced into labor camps. The devastation led to the creation of the Flood Control Act of 1928, which reshaped how the U.S. managed its waterways. The Ohio River flood of 1937 brought massive destruction, submerging entire cities like Cincinnati, Louisville, and Evansville. After weeks of relentless rain, the river swelled beyond its banks, displacing over 1 million people. Entire downtown areas were underwater, forcing residents to evacuate or seek shelter on rooftops. Transportation came to a standstill, as railways, highways, and bridges were completely submerged or destroyed. Rescue efforts were hampered by freezing temperatures, making survival even more difficult for stranded victims. The disaster forced cities to develop better flood control systems, including levees and reservoirs to prevent future floods. The Rapid City Flood of 1972 was one of the deadliest flash floods in modern U.S. history, killing 238 people in South Dakota. A stalled thunderstorm dumped over 12 inches of rain in just 6 hours, causing the Canyon Lake Dam to fail. A wall of water surged through Rapid City at 50 miles per hour, washing away cars, houses, and entire neighborhoods. The flood left behind a landscape of twisted metal, uprooted trees, and collapsed bridges, forever changing the city. In the aftermath, strict zoning laws were introduced to prevent building in flood-prone areas, reducing future risks. The Texas floods of 1935 devastated Austin when the Colorado River rose more than 50 feet above normal levels. Torrential rains caused the river to burst through levees, wiping out homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure. Bridges collapsed, power plants failed, and entire sections of the city were left without access to food or water. Rescue crews worked around the clock, navigating through streets that had turned into raging rivers. The disaster led to the construction of the Highland Lakes dams, which now help regulate the river's flow. The Hurricane Camille flood of 1969 caused historic rainfall in Virginia, dumping over 27 inches of water in just a few hours. The intense downpour triggered deadly landslides, wiping out entire towns in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Many victims were asleep when flash floods and mudslides rushed through their homes, giving them no time to escape. Camille's floods destroyed highways, washed away train tracks, and left communities isolated for weeks. The event highlighted the dangers of inland flooding, which often receives less attention than coastal hurricane impacts. The Big Thompson flood of 1976 in Colorado remains one of the most violent flash floods in U.S. history, killing 144 people in a matter of hours. A sudden thunderstorm dumped 12 inches of rain in the Rocky Mountains, creating a deadly surge of water through Big Thompson Canyon. Campers, tourists, and residents were swept away as floodwaters destroyed roads, bridges, and homes. The flood permanently reshaped the canyon's landscape, leaving massive boulders and debris scattered for miles. The Missouri floods of 1993 affected 9 states, making it one of the costliest and most widespread floods in U.S. history. Heavy rains caused the Missouri and Mississippi rivers to swell beyond control, submerging towns and farmland for months. Levee failures forced thousands to evacuate, with some communities permanently abandoned due to repeated flooding. The disaster prompted major investments in floodplain management and buyout programs to prevent rebuilding in high-risk areas. The Hurricane Katrina flood of 2005 caused over 1,800 deaths, making it one of the deadliest disasters in American history. The storm surge overwhelmed levees in New Orleans, causing 80% of the city to be submerged under floodwaters. Tens of thousands of residents were trapped on rooftops, in attics, or inside the Superdome with little access to food or water. The disaster revealed major failures in emergency response, as survivors waited days for rescue and aid. The hurricane led to one of the largest mass evacuations in U.S. history, with over 1 million people displaced. The Midwest floods of 2008 caused widespread destruction across multiple states, with entire towns submerged for weeks. Rivers burst through levees, washing away homes, schools, and businesses, leaving billions of dollars in damages. Some towns, such as Cedar Rapids, Iowa, suffered catastrophic losses, with floodwaters reaching historic levels. The prolonged flooding disrupted transportation, agriculture, and local economies, affecting millions of residents. The Hurricane Harvey flood of 2017 broke records as the wettest hurricane in U.S. history, dumping over 50 inches of rain in Texas. Entire neighborhoods in Houston were underwater for weeks, displacing over 30,000 people and causing $125 billion in damages. Highways became impassable rivers, forcing rescue teams to navigate streets by boat and helicopter. Many areas remained flooded long after the storm passed, highlighting the need for improved drainage and flood control systems. The Midwest floods of 2019 were among the worst in modern history, as extreme snowmelt and heavy rains overwhelmed levees. Entire farming communities were wiped out, leading to massive agricultural losses and forcing thousands to evacuate. The prolonged flooding left large regions underwater for weeks, causing billions in damage to homes, businesses, and infrastructure. Floods remain one of the most unpredictable and devastating natural disasters, capable of destroying entire cities in mere hours. Scientists warn that climate change and rising sea levels will increase the frequency and intensity of major floods in the coming decades. Improved flood defenses, early warning systems, and emergency response plans are critical to reducing future disasters. Despite modern technology, floods continue to claim lives and destroy livelihoods, serving as a reminder of nature's relentless power. The history of U.S. floods shows that preparedness and resilience are the only ways to minimize the impact of these deadly disasters.